Powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios. It's Football at 4.
Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Adam Caplan's here today. We have a lot of stuff to dive into. Eagles making some news today for a couple of reasons. Adam Caplan from the Inside the Birds podcast and InsideTheBirds.com joins us now as the Birds get busy on a Friday. Adam Caplan, how are you, sir?
I am well, Mike. A very, very busy Friday, and there was a nice story here with Brandon Graham coming back to the club.
Yeah, let's start with the good stuff. Graham is back. He's not going to hit the free agent market. Explain the contract a little bit on how the Eagles got him to come back to Philadelphia.
Yeah, so my friend Tim McManus reported this first of ESPN.com, and Brandon talked to Tim. So basically, it's a one-year deal for up to $6 million, and let me just kind of explain what typically means. In reporting on these things, when it says up to $6 million, it's typically 50 to 70% of that number. So maybe it's $4 to $4.5 million with upside with incentives to $6 million. I just want to go back here, Mike, and have people understand how ridiculously amazing this story is when a player comes back from a torn Achilles. He suffered the torn Achilles very early in September of 21. Obviously, when you suffer torn Achilles, you're not coming back soon. So he misses almost all of 21. The word we put out on our show in the spring was that Graham was ahead of schedule. He's doing pretty well, but who knew what he'd look like. And then we saw him, whatever they were allowing him to do in OTAs, he looked pretty good. I ran into Brandon at a charity golf event last July before training camp started, and he said he felt really good. He feels kind of normal. I'm like, wow, okay. We'll keep an eye on you in training camp. Mike, when I tell you could not tell that he's come back from an injury, I really mean that. You could not tell in training camp that he was coming back from an injury. And who knew at 34 years old, he turns 35, by the way, unbelievably, this will be his 14th year in April, he had his best year of sacks. Now, I understand he had a rotational role coming off the bench, but he did great in that role. And I have to give the Eagles credit here for bringing him back. And Brandon, talking to him, and he's settling down here. It sounds like he's probably going to be in the area when he retires, in the Philadelphia area, which is great. And I'm still blown away by the kind of season he had. It was just and Mike, if you watch him closely, watch his stop and start ability, his ability to change direction. This just doesn't happen. It's one of the most remarkable stories. And also, give the rehabs, the medical staff credit for this. This is also put not only to Brandon, the player, get most of the credit, but you have to give the medical staff credit here. They did an unbelievable job of rehabbing this injury, and to do what he did at 34 years old, Mike, is just incredible. I still cannot believe it.
All right, well, 34 years old, back for another year. You gave us the 1 year, about $6 million. Why back in Philly, and what does it mean for his role moving forward? Because you said last year, part-time player, had his most sacks, so does his role change? Why is he re-signing here, and what's it mean for his role?
Yeah, and that's a big question here. So Sean Desai, as I understand it, the new D coordinator, he's going to run mostly the Vic Fangio scheme, which is an odd man front, 34 front, 2 overhangs. Some people think it looks like a 5-1 or 5-2, whatever the case may be. Graham's going to play with his hand in the dirt, a little bit of standing up. But you've got, as the stand-up pass rushers, again, they do both. Sweat and Reddick are obviously their top 2 guys, so Graham will come off the bench. So right now, depending on what they do with Derek Barnett, he could be their third guy, the third pass rusher. We don't know yet. Barnett, remember, tore his ACL, so we don't know what 23 is the last year of his 2-year deal, so we don't know yet what they're going to do with him. But this Graham deal, this is great that they got this done because this gives them someone on the bench, and he did end the season healthy, that they know they could count on it. Believe it or not, at 35. I mean, he turns 35 in April. It's pretty remarkable to me, but. So what is his role? It's going to be similar. We're not expecting much to change. We expect him to play that 40 to 50%, maybe 40% play time, and it really works out for them. Now, they may draft someone. In fact, we expect them to do that. Another edge rusher, they kind of have to. They need depth and help with their rotation. But Graham clearly has his role defined.
Adam Caplan, Football at 4 from InsideTheBirds.com and the Inside the Birds podcast. I have gone on record by saying that Brandon Graham has the most important play in the history of the franchise. So he is back. What does this mean for his legacy in Philadelphia?
No doubt, and I'm glad you brought that up because thank goodness he didn't go to Cleveland as rumored. I know Jim Schwartz is there. Obviously, that's why he would go there if he didn't sign with the Eagles. That would certainly be one of the teams he would look at. Go somewhere where he knows people. But Mike, the Browns have made the playoffs twice in 20 years. They haven't won anything. Why? I mean, I'm so glad that didn't happen. I like the Browns personally. I know people there, but the legacy is you got to end your career as an Eagle. Now, look, we've learned not to say never. To say never, say never. Could Brandon play another year after this one? You never know. Remember Jason Kelsey? Everybody had him retired 4 years ago. It keeps coming back, although we don't know yet if he's going to play this year. Although Kelsey, we're told, is feeling pretty good. But this is a remarkable story, and for his legacy, yes, biggest play in Eagles history by far. Strip sack, just amazing. We all could see that hand. And you know what's funny about Graham, Mike? Before we move on. He got knocked for having short arms. Well, he didn't have short arms in that play.
Exactly. It's the strip sack. It's the most important play in the history of the franchise. It leads them to the one and only Super Bowl that they've had, and now he'll be a part of trying to get them number 2. Okay, big news today. Darius Slay didn't say he wants to be traded. The team told him, go find a trade. What's going on here?
This has sort of been refuted by a couple reporters. What I would tell you is, Darius Slay wants a contract extension. He's on the last year of his deal, $17 million, but there's no guaranteed money left. Players, just talking to them over the years, they get itchy when they have a big base salary. Not the Eagles would obviously never cut him, but he wants a new deal. You know, he just turned 32 years old. Mike, there aren't a lot of corners at 32 years old or playing at elite level. We're going to have more on this on our show that drops Monday morning, where we'll go over the list of the 64 starting outside corners, how many of them in their 30s? There are not a lot of them, Mike. And when you look at Slay, he's still playing elite level. I mean, he was a Pro Bowler. He's not perfect. Nobody is. He played very well. And this is a situation to watch. And another thing with Darius Slay, let's just say, for argument's sake, they wound up entertaining trade offers or look to trade him. James Bradbury, his contract's up. They don't know about Zach McPherson. They wouldn't have a starting outside corner, so I never say never. I'd be surprised if they traded him, but they do have 2 first-round picks, and one of them, depending on what the cornerback group looks like, we'll start hitting, Mike, in about a week or 2. It's going to be all draft because you know the free agency for the Eagles typically, and all NFL teams, it's very quick. Although the Eagles are going to be more selective this year, but trading Darius Slay doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But again, if he wants to get that deal, I don't know if that'll happen here.
Adam Caplan's with us. We'll keep our eye on that Slay thing. Very interesting.
Yep, sure.
Hey, you go find a trade. No, I don't want to be traded. Well, good luck. We don't want you here either. So we'll see. And the Eagles, you know, some people had thought, hey, maybe the Eagles are trying to bring in Matt Patricia. That's why they're trying to get rid of Slay. But they hired a linebacker coach, DJ Elliott from Temple.
Yeah, this is interesting. So he doesn't really have to go anywhere, Mike, because he'll be coaching at the same home stadium as Temple football. Elliott, see, now when I look at him, remember we reported this at the Combine. They were looking for a senior guy to be the linebackers coach. Well, Elliott's 46 years old. He's a veteran coach. Coached 23 years at the collegiate level, multiple defensive coordinator. Actually did a nice job for Temple in his 1 year there as a defensive coordinator. They had a couple of bad games, there's no question, but they played. I happened to watch the game. Their game at Memphis. Was it in Memphis or the Link? I can't remember. But they really held Memphis' offense down. Very physical defense, but they just didn't have a lot of talent. I'm not sure who knew him, other than obviously he's coaching in the area. But he did coach Davion Taylor at Colorado. He did coach. At Kansas, Kyron Johnson, so we obviously know some players. Maybe those guys went to the front office or Nick Sirianni, but they did bringing him in. He will be their linebackers coach. He's coached linebackers before. He's coached outside linebackers before. He's the D coordinator at Temple and outside linebackers coach. So this guy's got a ton of experience. I mean, almost half his life, think about this, has been coaching. But the one nugget here, though, the one point we have to make is he's never coached at the NFL level. That's slightly concerning because you can't coach guys like you did in college. If you remember Gunter Brewer, really a great receivers coach in college football. He completely failed here. He was not ready to coach, despite his age. he didn't do a very good job there. Players did not connect with him at the NFL level, so we just have to wait and see how he does.
All right, and then they're not done. I mean, we mentioned Matt Patricia's name. I guess it's still a possibility. They still need some defensive coaches to fill a couple spots.
Yeah, no, we didn't hear Patricia. The only thing we heard Patricia is if he would be considered would be for the inside linebackers job. But remember, they basically have they have edge rushers who's Jeremiah Washburn, but they still need DBs and defensive quality control. So they're not done, as you said, Mike. They're still in March here. I get it. They were in the Super Bowl, and losing Denard Wilson, who got a job within 48 hours for the Ravens. I'm told there actually were multiple teams in trying to hire him, but he chose Baltimore, a team that he knew they knew him. So they've got a lot of work to do, and we'll see what the DB's coach looks like here, who it is, because that's a very important job and a room that could be changed a lot here during free agency and also the draft.
Adam Caplan, real quick before we roll, the Slay stuff, does that say to you, hey, if Slay, they telling him to go try to find a trade, does that mean they maybe try to work a deal to bring Bradbury back?
I don't know that one's connected to the other. Bradbury at 30, though, should get it. He is, when you look, and by the way, we posted my rankings on InsideTheBirds.com. Mike, in my rankings of unrestricted, Bradbury's the top guy. Then Jamel Dean, who's younger, but he's had an injury history. He's a pretty good player. Shaq Griffin got cut. Marcus Peters is older. Bradbury's going to get a good free agent deal. I really believe that. So I'd be surprised if he came back. I always say never say never, though, with this stuff. You never know what will happen. Howie Roseman could be aggressive at some point, or maybe he's passive. And then right before 12 p.m. Eastern on Monday, when these players' agents could start negotiating deals with other teams, maybe they come in late. You never know. But I just can't imagine, though, Mike. They'd be without Slay and Bradbury. I'd be dumbfounded if they did that, because where would you go? Where would you go? Because Bradbury was his second team All-Pro, and some people don't agree with it, but he was. And Slay was a Pro Bowler, named as a Pro Bowler, as a starter.
Well, and there's a possibility, Adam, that you could lose all four guys in your secondary.
Sure. I mean, look, I say never. Things happen in free agency that surprises you, but if they have such a high pride, the organization, particularly in football operations, they don't want to take a step back. Offensively, they shouldn't. Defensively, they're going to have to take somewhat of a step back, but it should be major. Still have Sweat, still have Reddick. Graham's back. We don't know about inside linebacker. We don't know about corner and safety. It's a lot of it's up in the air, Mike. Stay tuned.
All right. Obviously, Monday, you'll start to hear who's going where. Wednesday, it will be official, and that all will be right here on the Sports Bash Live 97.3 ESPN. Adam Caplan and the guys at Inside the Birds and InsideTheBirds.com. The podcast will have more. Check it out. And, of course, right here on Football at 4. Thanks, Adam.
You got it. Thank you.